Welcome to the Blending In podcast, where we chat with innovative educators who are integrating EdTech. I'm your host, Ashley Azarlu, and I'm so glad you're listening in today. As teachers, we don't often get the chance to see into the classrooms of our colleagues, but by listening today, you'll get an auditory peek into the classroom of Anne Rizzacasa from Tahquitz High School in Hemet Unified School District. So welcome, Anne! I'm so glad we finally get to sit down and chat. We've been rescheduling this for a while. So Anne is a science teacher in our district. And why don't you tell us a little bit about your background in education and how you came to be a science teacher in Hemet?
Oh my goodness. So I have always wanted to be a science teacher. No, that's not true. I've always wanted to be a teacher. So like fifth grade, like super religious school, right? And so the thing was, how do you make a difference? And I was like my little fifth grader self thinking, okay, well, I'm not going to be a rock star and I'm not going to do like all this crazy, like super famous, but I think teachers like mathematically make the most difference. So then I was like, I'm going to be a teacher because that's how I can make a difference. The grade changed each year. As I was like a fifth grader, I wanted to be a fourth grade teacher. And as I was a sixth grader, I wanted to be a fifth grade teacher. But then by the time I got to high school, I was like, biology. Biology is where it's at.
Okay.
So much fun to teach biology, learn biology. Just so that was my passion. And then went to Towson Fullerton to do my bachelor's and teaching credential, and then that brought me to lovely Hemet.
Yeah, and I can totally hear like the passion in your voice for your content area, and I'm sure that comes across to your students as well. So I know that you have a love of technology because we serve on our inland area IAQ board together, which is part of the Greater Q organization. And if you're not sure what that is, Q used to stand for Computer Using Educator a way long time ago. And now nobody really says that. They just say Q.
It's just cute, but we're a Q community.
We are a Q community. And so we're part of the same little Q community. And so I met Anne through this organization and through the district that we work with. And I know that you just have a love of technology. So thanks for coming on today and like being willing to share how you're using technology with your students.
Absolutely.
All right, so let's just jump right in with, let's talk about implementing blended learning in your classroom. Let's go there first, because I know that we talk about blended learning experiences and using technology, but how do you do that in a science classroom, especially like with biology? And then when you're implementing blended learning, what are some of those challenges that you've experienced when doing things like that?
So big question.
Yeah, big question.
So with blended learning, I try to use technology as much as possible. But once it's blended, right? So you're using the tool that is going to be the most effective,
Yeah.
right? And not just like, ooh, I have a new toy. Let me just use whatever toy there is, like type of deal. And so like recently it comes to mind that I was teaching the kids how to use Excel spreadsheets, which we don't call Excel spreadsheets anymore, we call Google Sheets.
Yeah.
And that like freaks the kids out now. You're not calling it the right thing. I'm like, I know, I'm old enough. Sorry, but type of deal. And so I digitized myself. We were just talking about this before.
Yeah.
I digitized myself because I knew that in doing Excel spreadsheets, or I'm just going to use the wrong word.
Google Sheets.
Google Sheets.
Well, any type of sheets, really, whether it's Microsoft Excel or Google Sheets. It's complicated.
Right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. I digitized myself so that they could all work at their own pace and then put it into an end puzzle so that they had natural stopping parts so that it can interact with my digital self. And so I literally like cue them, not to do with you, but prompt them to be like, okay, well go listen to Digital Riz, and then in real life Riz is right here if you have any questions, but ask her first.
Oh, I love that. You're
Right.
In real life, Riz. Okay, she calls herself Riz for her teacher, for her students.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. So,
and that has nothing to do with the thing because apparently Riz is a thing now and it does not work in my favor. And I was Riz before it was a
yeah. So we kind of chatted about this little experience, and you had mentioned you kind of ran into a challenge with this when the kids were on the Ed puzzle. Like, tell them about that. What was that challenge?
Yeah, so that challenge was that they just watched the Ed puzzle, and they didn't realize that they needed to stop and do the actual Excel sheet activity with me. Like they're literally like I wanted them to literally copy me as if it was a we do activity, like type of deal. And or more I do, huh? You know. and they were just watching it. And I was like, no, don't just watch it. You have to like pause and do it yourselves. Like you have a line graph when you're done as well. Because this is complicated data. Like I gave them data that was evolutionary evidence.
And what grade was this again?
This is 9th grade.
Oh, this is 9th grade. Okay.
Yeah. 9th grade evolutionary evidence because I wanted them to see the evidence of evolution and not just lecture to them about evolution. You know?
Yeah. And I think you being reflective on that and seeing like, okay, they didn't really understand that they were supposed to stop and do this thing I was asking them to do in the video is only going to make you stronger the next time you do some activity like that again. So now you know, okay, I need to be a little bit more explicit with my instruction. So I just appreciate that you're reflective on that. That's awesome.
Oh, always. Especially when you're like trying to do new things, you're like, that didn't work. Like a hyper dog.
Yeah.
I thought I had a natural throw. You go from left to right.
Right.
Like that's where you click. And the kids were like, where do I click? And I'm like, what do you mean? Like left to right. And they're
like you're reading.
Like you're reading. And then the next time I did it, I put numbers. And then they could do, okay, I'm doing number 1. Now I'm doing number 2. Now I'm doing number 3. And I'm like, okay, cool, fine. I'll add numbers. But
yeah. I mean, and that makes me think about those basic skills, right? Like we think because they're growing up with the technology that it might just come very naturally to them. And for some of our kids, it might not. They might not have had the same opportunities or the same devices to learn on in their as they're growing up or the same programs. And so even those little things you have to teach them. I saw like in your notes that we kind of prepped before the episode, you wrote Control C.
Control C.
Yeah.
I don't even think of teaching Control C because I assume that they know it, but I have watched them do stuff because of course I'm nosy and I'm just watching them see how they do the processing because you can get to the same goal through multiple pathways with technology.
Yeah.
And so I watch what they do, and a lot of time they will double click. They will double click on the thing to copy, and then they will double click and paste it. And it's in the menu. And I'm like, oh, and it's like, that was a lot of clicking.
And they don't know the steps. Like the little codes that are in the menu, they don't know how to read those. So we have to stop and like teach them that, right?
Right.
And you're science biology, but that's a teaching a tech skill.
Right.
Right. So I just feel like that is a good point for all teachers who may be listening to this episode is it doesn't really matter what subject you're teaching, like digital skills have to be woven into everything we're doing because otherwise who's going to teach them?
Right.
Unless they have a computer class, which is rare these days.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, we do have computer science on campus. Yay.
That's good.
But
we're trying to get more.
We need not all students can take it, unfortunately.
Yeah. Well, thank you for doing that because I know that a lot of teachers avoid it. And so I appreciate when I come across teachers who are actually teaching those smaller skills, the little things that matter that can help set them up for success. I really appreciate that. So let's talk about going back to blended learning. What's the best blended learning approach that you've ever utilized?
Oh, dual enrollment. I have this opportunity, and I love these students. And so they are so down for podcasting, which we started off with this class. So I teach dual enrollment environmental science. Okay. So to me, it's really important to hear the voices.
Yes,
because it's not just about like we need to learn the material. So I have an information loading, and then we have an information offloading. Like so, then they have to create something. And it used to be that I had them write a report and then go to Socratic seminar.
Okay.
And it was okay.
That's a good strategy.
It's fine, cool.
Yeah.
But I wasn't hearing everyone's voices.
Yeah.
The shy kids were not talking. And even when I like tokens and say, okay, you have to spend your token, otherwise you can't get a credit type of deal, then okay, they talked, but it wasn't like meeting.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah. The surface level convo.
Right?
Yeah.
It was super surface level. And so I was, okay, let's try podcasting because then no one's staring at them other than their group of friends. Friends, I say with quotes because like they're classmates,
yeah.
right? So it's not necessarily a bestie or anything like that. And they're more on the mature, so they're juniors and seniors. Like they're in like it's a college class, and so they are really taking this like with initiative, and I have it that they are on Anchor.
Okay.
So with Anchor, it's automatically going to Apple Music. It's automatically going to Spotify.
Yeah.
So then I have it just like my playlist. So when they post it, then I just listen to it in the car.
Nice.
And then I give them feedback when I come back to school.
That's great. That is
so fun.
That's efficient.
Right?
Super efficient. I love that so much. So walk me through like how did you get them started on Anchor and like get their buy-in to do this?
Good question. Because the first group of kids did not like it. Let's just
it's probably a learning curve.
Yeah,
sure.
there was a huge learning curve, ridiculous. And so they're just like, okay, Riz, we understand what you're doing here, but this is hard.
Yeah.
And they were giggly, and they're not even like how they sounded.
Oh yeah, it definitely takes used to getting used to your voice on audio for sure.
Exactly. And so I was like trying to give them tips and tricks, but I wasn't the one that was personally making the Anchor. So then I was trying to help them through it, and sometimes I was just like, "You're in college, kid. Figure it out." Like, they did. Like once I was just like, "You got to swim at some point, kid. Let's do it now."
I love it.
And they do. They absolutely they meet to the challenge and they figure it out. And sometimes is the next, but you know what? It's fine. So the first year, they really did sound like robots.
Oh yeah, very robotic.
The second year was pandemic.
Yeah.
So that was like it was nice that they were able to still connect with each other and support each other in that way and like still like chit chat and talk.
Oh, you did it through the pandemic. How did you have them record? Was it like over Google Meet or
through Anchor?
They just
call each other through Anchor.
They call. Oh wow! I didn't even know that.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, see, you learn something new every day. I love that, Anne. Thank you for teaching me something new about a platform I've been using for 6 months. But thank you. I love that so much.
Yeah, they call each other because I tried it first and I was like, wait, can I do this? And so I called one of my coworkers and I was like, we're making a podcast right now, FYI. And she's like, what? What are you doing? And I was like, don't worry, it's not going to be posted anywhere.
That's awesome. That is so awesome. So as far as like what you have them record on their podcast, like I know that you are a big advocate for like voice and choice. Are they allowed to pick what they record about, or do you give them certain topics to choose from? Like, how does that work?
So it depends. So I have like a kind of a gradual release. Over the whole semester, they have about 8 podcasts to make.
Okay.
And so we start off with just make a 5-minute podcast and do it on this topic. So, and I give them like there's an issues and controversies education, like academic paper that we get through the MSJC library. And so I use that as a source for them so they can see the pros and the cons and not have to do that much internet research and not get bogged down by misinformation or anything like that. So we start that level for the first time, and then by the end we get to this end of semester, the goal is 30 minutes. I don't know how they're going to feel about this, but right now they're at 15 halfway through the semester.
Yeah.
30 minutes, but with creative commercials, maybe an interview, a little bit more editing, like all that stuff. And then it's always about like our topic. So like this week they're working on pollution management and stuff. And so if I find an interesting article like that, then I'll push it their way and be like, what do you guys think about this? If there's something current. Because sometimes, like a lot of times, which I love about environmental science, there's something in the political atmosphere that's like, is very like current to what we're studying. And I'm like, sweet, cool. I'll take this. And this is like now.
Relevant. This. Totally relevant.
But if we don't have that, then we do a brainstorm at the beginning of the week, and then I ask them what they want their topics to be. And then I go from there, and then I push them a little bit so it's not so, because I don't want them to make it a presentation that's just on audio. Like it needs to be interesting. Yeah. Like don't put me to sleep on the way to school, because otherwise I won't make it. Like.
And how long are their episodes typically?
So they start with 5 minutes, and then it depends on where we are in the semester. So right now, the guideline for their last one was 10 minutes minimum, but try to push to 15. And then next week will be at 15.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're like pushing them each time just to get a little bit longer. And you said the goal was 30 minutes?
The goal is 30 minutes with commercials, possibly with an interview. And if you put in an interview with our teachers on campus, love to talk.
Oh my God.
So
yeah, go hit them up and they'll fill your time.
Of this or that teacher, like you have to like keep them to 10. You have to talk to.
Oh my gosh, that's great. That's so much. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to link in the show notes the photos that you sent me of your podcast materials and things. And I'd also love to link your student podcast for other listeners. Would that be okay?
If they
give me permission. Okay, send me the ones that we have permission to post. I would love for listeners to be able to hear what they're producing.
To me, like I love them, but like I ask them because it's their digital footprint, right?
Yeah,
and so they get to choose whether they want. And I tell them like, other teachers really want to hear your stuff. It's so good, and they're just like, I don't know what it is.
Well, tell them they could definitely have a broader audience if they. Whoever's willing to share and have us listen, I would love to link that in for our listeners.
Absolutely.
Okay, so as we kind of round out our discussion today, Anne, who inspires you?
Oh my gosh. One, so many teachers at Tahquitz High School. But despite that, my favorite teacher was, of course, my high school biology teacher, Mrs. Porter, who I think is still teaching. I'm not quite sure. She's over at Edison High School. And she was just like all over the place. I don't think we ever like were just sitting and getting. We were always getting up and giving us like we had to go get the supplies. Like this supply is over here, this supply is over here. We had to go up and get it. We had to get the right color paper to do the things, and it was just always activity. So like I try to do that in my classroom too, because like remember the activities.
Yeah.
Like and if I remember it into adulthood, that's effective.
Yeah, I agree. The most memorable experiences for me back in school were activities that were like hands-on. So, and I've heard it come out today in our conversation, like your passion for your students. And I think it sounds to me like your students are a little bit of an inspiration to you too.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Oh my gosh, these kids, they're amazing. They're really amazing. And I love just getting to know them and their personalities. And like just, that's the thing also that I learned during the pandemic is like to honor and to love them wherever they're at and not like what their grade is.
Oh my gosh, I love that. Honor and love them. What a quote, Anne. That was good stuff right there. Okay, so for teachers who may be thinking about doing podcasting with their students or doing something innovative with technology in general, what advice would you have?
Ooh, good. So don't give up.
Those people who are like tech hesitant, like don't give up.
Don't give up. Start little bitty, right? Start small. Do little things. It doesn't have to be 100% all the time if you're not comfortable with it. Like, and then you'll get more and more into it. Because it's cool. It's innovative. It helps the kids learn. It gets them engaged. Like all that stuff. And you learn the hiccups. Like sharing everyone. I have like now it's just like rote memory. Like I need like the right share options.
Yeah.
Is like I just do it now. But man, when I started, I was so bad at it.
Yeah, it takes practice, right?
Right.
Getting used to it. And then after a while it becomes like part of like everything you do.
Takes practice.
It does take practice. Well, thank you so much for sitting down with me at Spring Q this year to do this recording. Like, I've still enjoyed talking to you. I always enjoy talking to Anne, but it's really fun today getting to talk to you a little bit about diving deeper into podcasting with your students. It's so cool that you're doing that.
I love it. I love hearing their voices.
Thanks for listening to the Blending In podcast. I hope you gleaned some inspiration to blend in EdTech and some top-notch transformational techniques into your instruction. You can find show notes and resources from today's episode on our website, blendinginpodcast.com. If you loved what you heard today, leave a review and hit the subscribe button to get notified when new episodes are dropped. Also, follow us on social media and use hashtag blendinginpodcast to add to the conversation. Until next time, don't hesitate to innovate and integrate.